Hi there, Ronnie here, coming at you with a video. I haven't really weighed in on the whole J.K. Rowling thing, quite frankly, because as a cis white straight male, I have no direct personal experience of what the hell she's talking about. I have friends who are trans, and I've seen the harm that her words have done and how upset they are, and I reckon, they're the people that should be listened to on this subject. Anyway, I saw a post on Twitter and then various replies, and there's this very odd ideology going on which I don't get. Daniel Radcliffe has come out and in a recent interview has said why he made a point of posting that he does not agree with J.K. Rowling's views. And obviously he's not the only cast member. I think Rupert Grint has said so. Certainly Emma Watson has also said that she doesn't agree with Rowling at all. The problem with some of the replies hasn't been just the fact that they disagree with Daniel and Emma. That's an ideological discussion you can argue all day with. But there's one thing, I'm afraid, which is not up for debate before you even get to those arguments. And that's this strange bloody argument that some of them are having, that Daniel and Emma, and anyone else for that matter, have absolutely no right to disagree with J.K. Rowling, because obviously they got their starts in the Harry Potter movies. They've that launched their careers. But because of that, they should never, ever, ever disagree with Rowling, ever, because they owe her in perpetuity. Utter bollocks. Whilst it is absolutely true that Harry Potter was a big start for them, and it is true that a level of fame that came with it has meant that they have done other projects since. They got those other projects, and the fact that both of them are still working to this day is down to their talent, not down to Harry Potter. Although, there is something. But even if they only have their fame because of the Harry Potter movies, that still doesn't mean they have to sell their souls and their morality and their sense of fair play and be beholden to Rowling in perpetuity. I worked in a bingo hall 2 decades ago. Does that mean I am forever beholden to them? No, of course not. It's bloody stupid. At the end of the day, what people need to realise or accept, however much they love the films, however much the films were a part of growing up and they enjoyed them, and that the actors have enjoyed a bit of fame and all the rest of it from it. At the end of the day, those actors were doing a job. And fame and fortune and everything aside, it's a job. They are not beholden. The only thing that they are beholden to is that whilst they are doing that job, they give it their all, which I think they did. And they certainly acknowledge the impact of those films in springboarding their career, which they have repeatedly. Daniel Radcliffe, even though it's been over a decade since he last did Harry Potter, has happily said that he will always answer questions about Harry Potter when he does interviews, because why wouldn't he? Is his attitude. But that doesn't mean that he is beholden to Rowling. Neither is Emma Todd. None of them are. Their contract, for want of a better word, with Rowling ended with Deathly Hallows Part 2. And even if you could claim that they owed her a bit of gratitude, they certainly don't owe her their moral code and their soul. And no one has the right to demand otherwise. I'm sorry if people get offended by that, but sod it. To tell people you're not allowed an opinion because a person who wrote a book that got turned into a film that you starred in thinks differently, thinks a certain way, you are forever and ever, you are not allowed to hold a contrary opinion to that author. Utter bollocks. Simple as that. Now, I am sure that there are people who have a problem when it comes to trans issues, and may agree with Rowling, they may not. My personal opinion, I'm not a woman, but at the same time, I find, first of all, I've never met a trans person who was aggressive, who was some sort of predator. Do they exist? Probably. They exist in all walks of life. But what does disgust me with Rowling is that she will claim that she doesn't have a problem with trans people. But every time she talks about trans people, every time she brings it up, every time that she does some op-ed for a newspaper or does a big column on Twitter or something, she is only ever talking about trans people in negative terms, in terms of them being sexual predators. She's always talking about them negatively. Now, me personally, I find that a little worrying. In fact, actually, I find it a lot worrying that she has a problem with that. you know, she claims she doesn't have a problem with trans people, but she's constantly talking negatively about them. You never hear them being talked positively. At all. So I don't actually believe for a second that she she's okay with trans people in general, because she's obviously not. I find the gaslighting, the emotive language that she uses to be very troubling. And I just don't get it. Yes, there are undoubtedly and when she talks about it, she's always talking about trans women. She's never talking about trans men. Which I find equally worrying. It's all very, very disturbing, the way she goes on. And I find it deeply troubling. As I say, I am very fortunate in my life that I know I have friends or family who are L, who are G, who are B, and who are T, to go through the the four letters. I found those people to be amongst the most honourable, compassionate, kind, gentle of people that I know. I'm very honoured with all the friends I have, and I sure as hell don't see those friends of mine who are LGBT as somehow lacking against other friends. So I don't get the hatred, I don't get the anger, I don't get the disdain, I just get upset with the world at times, and it just annoys me. But no matter your politics or opinions on this, to say that a person has no right to an opinion because someone who got them employed 20 years ago holds a differing opinion, and that person should hold that employer's opinion forever because you owe them. That's utter bollocks. In fact, one of the reasons I left the bingo was the fact that I disagreed very much with the ideology that was going on in that particular establishment. I could probably do a video on that alone. That'd be a long rant. It'd probably burn a few bridges, but I wouldn't care too much. Not after 20 odd years. So I just don't care anymore whether people, if you have such a hatred that not only that you see Daniel Radcliffe having a different opinion to J.K. Rowling, and that Daniel Radcliffe should be ashamed of himself for holding a different opinion to the woman whose book that got turned into a film got him his first job. If you have to do that kind of mental gymnastics in your head, get a life. Quite frankly, I have no time for people like that. Now, I know people who are uncomfortable with the subject, but even those people would be quietly reserved and just, they would never be aggressive. They would just be sort of, quietly polite. But I've had enough of it, to be honest. I've had enough of seeing people being hurt and upset, and it's simply not good enough in this day and age. It's this is November of 2022. There are real problems in the world. We're looking at a possible winter where people will die due to having to choose between food and heating. We're looking at a political system that has been lurching to the right more and more and more, and sort of fascistic language being used by governments. There are real problems in the world, and no matter where you stack problems in the world, what bathroom someone uses can't be one of them. I mean, if anything, this is the biggest argument for a unisex, just having unisex public bathrooms I've ever heard. And just get the argument out of the way once and for all. But enough's enough. Come on, guys. We're looking down the barrel of 2023. Let's try and get some hope in here, eh? Let's try and make the world a little better. Can we do that? Please.